And so what I would say to men is a couple things. One, this is going to be the most challenging work of your life. You think you're a baller, you think you're badass, you got 3 extra houses and 7 Porsches and a 7-figure this. Go sit with your shadow. Go talk about the shit you don't want to talk about. I've had elite military guys say, this is the most difficult work I've ever done in my life. So one, go test yourself. You see, you're bored right now. You think you're in a midlife crisis. Amazing. Go sit with your shit. Go figure yourself out. And then 2, you're going to open yourself up to something that you have never had access to. You have lived a very powerful life that's essentially like watching a black and white TV. You've had successes, you've had failures. There have been good things, there have been bad. But when I found my inner landscape, the energetics of my body, emotions, it was like, Abby, poof, everything became color.
Incubators, in this episode, I sit down with Traver Boehm, who leads a movement called Man Uncivilized. This is an incredible episode. We start with talking about masculinity and femininity and where we've gone wrong and what is going on in the world. But make sure you listen all the way to the end, because then we start talking about Traver's 49 days in darkness, which was actually his second trip into darkness. The first one was 28 days, and what he learned and the impact of going deep inside yourself and living through all that want to come up and finding yourself, meeting yourself at that deeper place. This is a really, really great interview. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Welcome, Traver. I am really excited to have you here today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Let's just dive in. You know men like the back of your hand. I know women like the back of my hand. Let's just jump right into the cluster that is masculinity and femininity in the world that we live in. I'd love to just hear your thoughts on that. And because I feel like we are just so confused on every level.
I've said it publicly. I'll just say it. Like, we don't like each other. And a lot of us don't like each other. I'm not in that camp, but I see it daily where it feels like there's been a societal squeeze, is the best way I can put it. And whether that started before COVID or was just accentuated by COVID, most people, especially people without a serious practice, have just gotten, I'm going to just use the word squozen. And things are more expensive. There's less time. There's more disconnection. There's more connection with tech. There's this looming fear of our AI overlords. There's politics. There's people getting stabbed. There's people getting shot. There's wars. There's protests. There were protests. I think the last 5 or 6 years for humans have been a bit more than our nervous systems can handle. And for a while, I'd say even pre-COVID, because I started Uncivilized in the middle of MeToo, which was very, very necessary, I will say, as a man. Like, that movement, super necessary. And people have poo-pooed it and said, like, well, there's a pendulum swing that came from it. Well, so be it. I think men needed to see how prevalent it was that women were getting harassed, stalked, abused, violated, all the full spectrum. And not thinking, oh, this is happening to, quote, these other women that live somewhere else, not on my street, not the women in my life, not the women I went to college with, not my friends, like, to know that it was happening for everybody. So I'm going to frame this of, that was a big, juicy topic in 2017, 2018. And then COVID came and boom, like, everybody, we went a whole bunch of different directions, primarily around race. And that was the big divider when George Floyd got killed, and the country was just at a divide with that. And I feel like when we've come out of that and are now back to men and women are cats and dogs, the relationship space itself has disintegrated or is in such a state of transition that nobody's getting their needs met, nobody's speaking, and finger pointing is at an all-time high. Some of that's for good reason. I think the paradigm of relationship that I grew up, I'm 49 years old, and saw is no longer viable at all. And I've spoken about this for a couple years, but the fire has been fanned by the fuel of social media. And I wrote this maybe a month ago, Abby. I said, if I wanted to be super famous and social media, like I could 10x my social media following just by hating women and making that my platform, just like parallel parking videos all day. And just like women are the problem, women, I would be famous as could be because I
Yeah.
see it all day long. I see it from men and I see it from women. Like,
Yeah.
let's shit on men, let's shit on women. I just saw a article in the New York, I think it was the New York Times, talking about that they've now coined a phrase for how bad it is to date men. And I thought, wow, that passed an editorial board. That was a whole bunch of people sat around a desk and were like, this is what we want to put out. This is what society needs. And, I saw the post and I saw thousands and thousands of comments from women saying, yes, F men, men are the worst. Who would want to date men? I'll never want to marry men. Men are terrible. And
Oh
I
my God.
understand there's a collective pain. And also, are we just fanning that collective pain? And I can give you one more example from social media. I saw an article from, Vice News. Remember them back in the day? They used to actually be like cutting edge journalism. They'd interview drug addicts and people on the fringe. And they posted something on Facebook that said 8 out of 10 men would marry an AI girlfriend. And that was the post, right?
Yeah.
And then, so again, thousands of comments underneath from women. Men are so shallow. Men are pigs. Men just want sex. Men, no. And it had linked an article. And I was like, okay, I'm checking the article here. So I click on
Yeah.
the article, and what the percentage was that someone had interviewed. So there's an AI like girlfriend company. Like I promote my app will give you an AI girlfriend. I'm
Oh
not
my God.
happy with that, but that's a thing. So this company then went into their audience, their subscribers, people who pay to have AI girlfriends, and said, how many of you would marry your AI girlfriend? And 8 out of 10 of those poor souls said they would. So it didn't say in the post 8 out of 10 guys who are already in love with an AI would marry that AI. It just
Right.
threw the blanket, blatant statement up. So to answer your question, I mean, that's part of it. I also wrote this morning specifically that I think the pendulum of masculinity has now swung back, and even said the world seems to have woken up and recognized that, golly gee, we do sort of need men. But
Yeah.
now the question is, what type of men are we going to get? So it's a long answer to a very short question. It's a mess. We've
It's a
lost
mess.
reverence for each other. We've lost respect for each other. We've lost care for each other. I think respect and reverence are the two biggest points, that we don't know how to communicate with each other. And we've forgotten that as a team, we are far better than we are on our own. And I'll leave it there. And yeah, I'll put a pin there.
Yeah, I mean, I think so much of that is that we've forgotten ourselves and we are so confused with what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman that,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's crazy. But you said so much in that, and I totally agree. I feel like COVID and the Me Too movement and all of that blew everything up. And I've got two kids that were in high school during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
that were in that age. And it's interesting because my TED talk was on women's liberation as an inside job, the
Mm,
end of self-betrayal, and I heard you do an episode on self-betrayal, so I want to talk about that too.
sure.
But the premise was, we grew up, I'm Gen X, a little older than you, but Gen X, and we grew up with the Angelique commercials. I can bring home the bacon, I can fry it in a pan, never let you forget you're a man.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole point was, yeah, we can do all that. That's fine. But women's liberation threw us into this workforce and said, now you can do all of these things, but it forgot all the conditioning that we had, that we're
Mm-hmm.
not good enough, that we're unworthy, that we need a man to exist, all of these things. So now you just had a bunch of women in the workforce acting out the same unworthiness programs in another venue, in a new venue.
Mm-hmm.
And we were taught to be like a man. And for me growing up, it was very much like, don't depend on a man. You can make your own money. You can do your own thing. And a complete denial of the feminine side. And so what happens now where I see women so often is like, I don't need anybody to take care of me. but I'm dying to have a boyfriend or get married.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to do? How is that going to work?
Right.
If you cannot receive, how can
Yeah.
you get what you can't receive?
Yeah.
Right. And we have these exteriors. And
Mm.
so to me, that whole point that I was trying to make is like, look, we can talk about marketing and advertising. We can teach men not to grab your ass and all that stuff. It's not going to work, because if you are betraying yourself daily, nothing will change. If I don't feel worthy, it doesn't really matter what you do or don't do.
Right.
Right. And so to me, I called it self-betrayal circle. It's when we behave out of these emotions, these primal nervous system emotions and conditioned emotions, and we just keep winding up back in the same place. Versus if we come up against that and say, makes me really anxious to be vulnerable right now. It makes me really anxious to accept, whatever. And we deal with that anxiety. Instead of the anxiety of like, oh, I'm not supposed to want a man, I'm not supposed to whatever, then we could actually evolve.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that what I've noticed in this whole time is exactly what you're talking about, this pendulum swing. And I see, and I really want to hear from you because I don't know, you talk to men much more than I do. I talk to them some, but I see what happened during that time as two different backlash responses. One is, and I was part of this, right? Because I think I put the fear of God into my son, because it's true to what you said. I don't really know any women who haven't been some type of sexual indecency, from rape to having their boobs grabbed to whatever. Like, it's
Right.
very rare to find a woman that hasn't had that experience. So
Multiple experiences. Yeah.
yeah. So I was always like, hey, listen, know what you're doing. Like, I didn't think he was going to do anything like that, but I was like, the other side of this is that girls today, even forget about like all that women's lib movement, girls today still are doing shit because they want to be loved by a man. And so be careful, like, don't go sleep with girls and because just for the hell of it, because they're thinking something else. Right. And my son is he's just a little ball of love. He's just very sensitive, very deep, very thoughtful. And it's like, I think, and during that and COVID, it's sort of like, I can't even talk to a girl now because I might hurt them. I might whatever. Now, the other side of the backlash is what I see is these men who they can hardly tolerate hearing anything because it's sort of like, why am I being blamed for what that asshole did? That's not. And so they go to the other side of the spectrum and are kind of like, yeah, women are, they're not as worth the trouble type of a thing. So curious about your thoughts on all of that. Sorry, I was speaking so long.
It's okay. There's so much to say about this, Abby. I will address that. I want to share with you a quick story, though, that I think sort of archetypally explains where we are. And I had coffee yesterday with a woman here in Boulder. And it wasn't a date. It was just a setup of, I think you two should meet each other. You have similar professional interests. And she is a professional dominatrix. She is an entrepreneur. She runs women's circles. She has a team of men under her. She is a potent human. And I showed up to the place we were meeting, and she was there. And I asked, hey, I'm going to sit us here, and I'm going to take the seat that you're in because I want to face out to the parking lot and everyone behind you. And she kind of smiled and asked, like, well, why are you moving us and why are you sitting there? And I joked that I don't want a seat behind me because I don't want to be stabbed in the back. And if no one can stab me, then they can't stab you. And I want to see what's behind you because that's how I orient myself in the world. I was a professional bodyguard and I don't like not facing the public. And she humored me and went with it. And a little ways into the conversation, talked about safety and how she's like, and actually it's really nice to know that I'm not the one watching your back. And I said, yeah, we have this sentence in the Uncivilized Nation. It's a mantra we have. And it goes, let others be safe for I walk among them. And that is the positioning I have with each of these guys. And it's not go be Superman, go be armed, but just note that if something happens, you're not going to pull out your phone and film it. You're going to intervene and do something about it. And if you're with someone who is physically less strong than you are, which, even though this is a controversial sentence in 2025, is most often a woman with a man, then you're going to orient yourself to where you're in charge of the perimeter, let's call it. And I'm not a military guy, but just that idea. Energetically, you're in charge of what's going on. And I watched her shoulders drop. I watched her face drop a little bit and relax. And then this badass woman started crying.
Wow.
And I just held her with it and was like, I get it. And she said, it's so nice to know that for 90 minutes, which was the time we were going to be spending having coffee, one, I don't have to worry about my own safety, and someone else is holding things for me.
Yeah.
And I went, that, I don't have ego in this. It wasn't like, hey, I got to sit here because I'm a fucking man. And I watched Rambo. I grew up on Commando, which I did, which was awesome. This is a side note. But just, this is how I orient myself in the world. And if you hadn't have asked me why I'm positioning myself physically this way, I would have just sat here first. And that would have all happened without you knowing it. And I feel like that's what we're missing now. I understand why my sisters were taught, make your own money, be able to take care of yourself, all the things, because there were women at my mom's generation and grandmother's generation who were trapped, who couldn't open a checking account without a man's permission, who couldn't get physical birth control without a man's, and still to this day there's issues around that. So I totally understand that. But what we did was outsource your safety back to you and removed us from the equation when we are the natural protectors and the natural holders of the frame. However, we're also the natural predators. So it's confusing. But I know I can deal with a male predator a hell of a lot better than the woman I was having coffee with. So position me in that space. That feels like what we're missing is she could have been like, hey, I tie men up. I run a business. I run men's paychecks. I'm going to sit in that spot. And I'd be like, look, here's the deal. You're 115 pounds. I'm 190. I can, just stop that. But she didn't. She let me be there. And one of the things I spoke about around it this morning to a group of guys, I said, to me, that was life giving. It was enriching. Yeah. It gave me energy to do that. It wasn't depleting. It wasn't exhausting. And it wasn't egoic. I was like, hope you all see where I'm seating. So see where I'm seating? See, I'm watching that because I'm the fucking man. It was just like, I will leave this situation feeling better, more relaxed, and more nurtured because I get to do my job.
I think some men are afraid to do that, though, because women will eat them alive.
I completely agree with you.
I don't need that.
100%, Abby, 100%. So to speak to the archetypes that you were talking about with your son, we have a lot of guys that are wounded. We have a number of men who will literally say, like, I'm never holding the door for a woman again because one time I did, and she said this and this and this, and feminism, so F it. She can hold her own door. Here's what I tell those guys. I hold the door for everybody. I hold the door for men. I hold the door for women. It's not because I'm the patriarchy and I'm bigger and I'm stronger and I'm owed something and I'm entitled to something. Just hold the damn door. And go to therapy to figure out why you're so angry at women because one said that you didn't want to walk through the door.
Well, not even that one said it, but like everything that's on social media, it's like, well, why should I hold a door? They're the ones that get all the privilege. Why should I do this? Why should I do that? I mean, it's so messed up.
It's noisy.
It's noisy.
And so that's what I tell men, and I would tell your son. I've told younger guys. I have guys that come to me that here's another great story, Abby. This is kind of where we are. This was a year ago. I had a young man reach out, and by reach out, I mean he took the time to come to the website, fill out a form, and get a 15-minute call with me. And we get on the call. I'm a professional. He's 25, and he says, "Here's my issue. I'm really, really attracted to a woman I work with." And I was like, "Cool. I've got some questions. Is she over 18?" He's like, "Yeah, she's 27. I was like, "Amazing. Is HR involved? Like, have you sent pictures? Have you sent emails? And he goes, "No, nothing. But I need your help to remove the attraction." And I was like, "I'm sorry. Tell me more." And he goes, "I don't want to be a toxic man." And I like when she walks by, I can smell her, and I'm looking at, and I'm like, oh, you're a 25-year-old dude. Like
Right.
I would have humped a desk at 25, like when the wind blows. Like talk about toxic. Like
Right.
I actually said to him, I exist in the world. I'm alive, and my two sisters are alive because my dad saw a really cute girl in the office, 50 some odd years ago. That's how it used to be.
Right.
Now, if you're not sending inappropriate things or asking her out 4 times when she said no twice or once, then you're not being toxic. This is actually natural and normal. So go with God.
To ask that question is so sad.
It's terrible. It broke my heart. I've told this story. I do a workshop for therapists on how to work with men. And I'm like, this is where the culture's at.
Yeah.
And so I will say to men, it's okay to approach women. It's okay to speak. You guys, they're humans. What's not okay is when you hear, no, thank you, to come back again and again and again, or to come up to someone who's clearly working and interrupt them, or clearly in the middle of their set at the gym to stop them and interrupt them, or to be creepy. And I'd say the other side of the pendulum is you're not allowed to hate them either because of what the culture says. And I think that's where both men and women are. A number of factions have bought into women are the problem because I have to buy, there's like ladies' night at the bar and I have to buy drinks, or who pays for the first date. They want equality there. Like, that's all noise. It's all noise. And you can spend your life listening to that noise, or you can walk up to the woman in your office and say, you know what? I think you're fascinating. I'd love to get a cup of coffee with you. And let society then freak out on both sides of the coin. And guess what? You may go on a coffee date that leads to a beautiful family and you have a great life, and the noise is still going to be there when you're at your granddaughter's wedding.
I think that so much of the confusion, though, was baked in when some of these kids, to your point, this 25-year-old and whatnot, how old were they when they were going through all of this? Because especially during COVID, some boys, I think, had really horrible experiences because the Me Too thing was going on. And so girls would make these random things where the guy's like, I was just, whatever. She didn't, and then they either get really angry and swear off women, or their worthiness just tanks. And it's not even so much getting permission to be able to approach a woman. It's literally at the core, the fear, because they're just not sure, because they've been beat up for so long. I've been working with women for, decades and grew up in that era. But to me, it breaks my heart to see that men are being demonized and that they are so, unable and not given permission to be who they are. It's worse than it. I feel like it's worse than it even was in the past eras where it was like, well, men just aren't supposed to talk about their feelings. That's one thing. Now it feels like it's so much worse than that. Like there's layers and layers of defenses that go beyond you're just not supposed to talk about your feelings. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, if we keep it in the dating scheme, we've demonized male desire. And I understand to some extent why. Because a lot of it expressed itself in really horrible, non-consensual or toxic ways. And yet at the root of it is something very pure. This 25-year-old likes this girl. It wasn't just like, I just want to F her. I was like, I really like her. And that simple fact of I may like someone, I said this years ago, Abby, that we've thrown the toxic baby out with the masculine bathwater. And that kind of, or maybe it was the masculine baby out with the toxic bathwater. One of the two. You get it. And we took the whole basket and chucked it. And so my teacher, a guy named Dewey Freeman, he's an equine therapist. He says horses need to feel two things. This is in a pack of horses. Very first day I met him, he said this to me. They need to know that they're safe, and they need to know where they fit in the pack. And I remember thinking like, oh, sounds a lot like humans. And so collectively, the masculine, or men, we don't know where we fit in. We're not
Yeah.
sure what we're supposed to be doing here. There's all of this mixed messaging, and we don't often associate or prescribe the word a lack of safety to men because, again, we are the perpetrators mostly. So you
Right.
have a generation or two generations of young men specifically who literally don't know where they fit in and therefore don't feel safe emotionally and then act out in ways that are very harmful or toxic or self-destructive as well, right? Or,
Right.
I used to there's two paradigms in the uncivilized idea around men. We have the 1950s Marlboro man and we have the sensitive new age guy. And my idea was to go right in the middle of the two and say uncivilized is the guy in the middle. I've now added a third, which was saying, hey, we have the 1950s Marlboro, we have the sensitive new age guy, and now we just have the collapsed male. The dude is
Mm.
just like a shell. He's like living in his parents' basement, getting high, watching porn, playing video games. He's at the peak of his physical prowess. He's at the peak of his mental. Like, you should be out there starting something, interning somewhere, learning a skill, travel the world. And instead, you're just like, I am
Numbing.
nobody. I am worthless. I have no future. I don't know where I fit in the world.
And they don't even know that's what they're saying. They don't even know that they feel worthless. And they would probably say, no, I don't.
Right.
They're just numbing.
They're
Just,
numb.
yeah.
They're numb. And their connection point is often tech, it's electronic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
five guys, each in their own homes, playing a video game that somehow connects them. And yes, they may be talking, or yes, there may be some connection, but you put them out in the street with someone, male or female, and they have no idea what to do. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the world isn't a video game. And so it does lead to all of this pain. And it's this and you spoke about this a moment ago. It's pain that men aren't yet allowed to feel, right? I'm lonely. Ha ha ha. There's a loneliness epidemic. Maybe if you smiled more, you wouldn't be so lonely. So we see all
Yeah.
of the backlash to actual male pain. It's
Yeah.
celebrated. It literally is celebrated as opposed to going, what do we do about this? And my
What
take
do you
on
mean
it,
it's celebrated?
I have seen a number of, and this is a lot of social media, of like, there's a loneliness epidemic. Good. I hope they all die. Good.
Oh,
Maybe if
yeah.
they smiled, they wouldn't be lonely. I wonder what they were wearing when they were lonely. And so it's a very wounded response to
Yeah.
actual events and things that need to be addressed as well.
Right.
My take is twofold. One, I don't want these young men killing themselves, which is a whole thing. And
Yeah.
number two, I don't want them killing anybody else, which is also a whole thing. And so
Right.
when I see comments like that, and it's like, good, I hope the male loneliness epidemic explodes, I think like, well, you won't say that the next time one of them shoots up a school.
Right.
And so I get it. We can be angry at men. We can be angry at the history. We can be angry at what's specifically happened to you at the hands of men. And we have to look at our species, male species as a whole. And this is a lot of work, Abby, for men. This is what I'm out there saying. Hey, guys, this is our team. So I'm not interested in the noise as much. I'll watch it to get a beat on it and a feel for it. But what are we doing about it? What are we
Right.
doing for the younger men? What are we doing for our brothers? Our number two ethos tenet at Uncivilized is be your brother's keeper. Reach out,
It,
talk to these
it,
guys.
it's the same thing that I'm thinking about women. It's like, what are we doing that girls today are still sending naked pictures of themselves because they want someone to love them? What is going on?
Getting Botox at 19, yeah.
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 Like, it's on us. Like, we as women have to start acting like we're worthy and believing we're worthy, and stop having it be about, you can't do this to me and you blah, 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 blah. But like, going into the depths and
Mm-hmm.
being accountable for what I'm saying and what I'm doing and how I'm acting that is not worthy, the guilt I'm carrying around, all of these things that's being transmitted to this
Mm-hmm.
younger generation who, what the fuck did we go through feminism for? If we're
Oof.
still doing this same bullshit. So I want you to tell a little story that I heard you tell, because I think it's really powerful. The story that I heard you tell that I thought was really interesting back to this topic of safety was, you had gone on a date with a woman.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Do you remember
So
that story?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
happy
it's
to
just
share this.
really important because it really captured, I think, how a lot of women even unconsciously feel, and men just are not aware of it.
Yeah. I was in Brooklyn at the time, if this is the story that you're speaking of, and it was a first date, and we'd left dinner. And I want to qualify myself. I don't want this to sound like I'm touting myself, but I was an ex-professional MMA fighter. I was an ex-bodyguard for a number of years with a company called Gavin DeBecker. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I was a strength and conditioning coach. I teach women's self-defense. That's what I'm bringing to this first date. And so we're leaving the date and we're walking down the street, and this woman I'm with is tiny. She's like, 5 feet with shoes on, 100 pounds soaking wet. And there's someone coming towards us that I can clearly tell. I don't know what the issue is. He's either homeless, if we're allowed to say that word, intoxicated, if we're allowed to say that word, or some combination of, am I allowed to say crazy? There was some stuff going on with him that immediately flagged me. There were like 3 flags that went up in my head. And I was on the opposite side of between him and her. So I just quietly like rotated around to be on her other side so that I'm between him and her, and took a half step forward so I would meet him before he met her. This is something I've done 1,000 times with old clients and just with people in general. Uh, and we walked past him, nothing happened. And she called me on it and said, "Hey, I saw what you did." And I said, "Yeah, this is just how I sort of exist in the world." And she kind of poked me and was like, "Do you really think I'm worried about that guy?" And I was like, "I don't know what you're worried about, but I'm worried about that guy." She goes, "I'm more worried about you than I am that guy." And now I was offended to all get out, Abby. It was like me? Like, first of all, my mom's a feminist. I have 2 older sisters. One of my sisters went to an all women's college. And then like I kind of listed all of my stuff, right? I was like, I literally said to her, "This is probably the safest walk home you've ever had in Brooklyn in your entire life. People used to
Mm.
pay me to walk next to them to protect them." And God bless her, because this was such a good lesson. She was fiery. She's like, "I'm worried." Like, what happens? This is what she said. "I'm not worried about you now. I'm worried about you the first time you get mad. I'm worried about
Mm.
you if we go back to my house tonight and I turn you down for sex. I'm worried about you the first time I say no. And you have all of this size, strength, and skill. And then
Yeah.
suddenly it's not on my behalf, but it's pointed at me." And I went, "Oh, shit. I wouldn't have thought of that at all." And so
Yeah.
what it shifted in me, we have another ethos tenet, which is be dangerous, but not a danger. And I tell guys, yes, I want you strong. I want you able. I want you skilled. I want you to have some level of fluency when it comes to violence, and also like first aid, because that's way more important than knowing how to throw a punch. And do you know your shadow? Do
Mm.
you know your own triggers? Do you know your sexual needs, desires, and wants? And are you cool if you don't get them met for a long time? Are you the same person after 1 drink as you are after 4? Do you get
Mm-hmm.
happy or do you get grabby? Like all of these things that truly, Abby, like I didn't think. I just thought I was walking around like, I'm the best. Look at me. I'm going to protect you. And thought that would be
And
recognized.
even if you don't like, even if your shadow is more mild,
Mm,
right? Like it's muted or it's stuffed down or whatever, just the idea, I think, that is hard for men to understand is that this is in women's subconscious. Like,
mm,
this is just, if you get big in
mm,
an argument, and women, I think, might not even be aware of it consciously because we've been taught to be like, oh, we're tough and all this stuff.
yeah.
But it's in our DNA. I think it was such a great story because I think if you raise your voice, they're feeling so emasculated as it is
Mm,
that it wouldn't even occur that that would be scary. You know, it's kind of like,
right.
what? I can't raise my voice. And it's like, no, it's not that you can't raise your voice, but understand that there's a deeper
Mm,
process going on here, that you are stronger.
mm,
And that's intimidating and scary. Like, on some level, even though we don't want to admit it,
sure.
something is registering
Yeah.
that we are fucked.
Mhm.
You know, if anything happens, like
Mhm.
it's a primal thing, right? Like that I don't
Mhm.
even think is conscious.
I'm a unique animal, having spent years and years and years studying martial arts and specifically jujitsu, which is on the ground. But I remember watching two videos of women kind of confessing. Like, I joked with my boyfriend, I want to wrestle with him and I want him to go at like 50% and I'm going to go at 100%. And them kind of saying, I had no idea the strength difference between the two of us.
Hmm.
Like, I went all out and he just giggled and laughed and lay on top of me and
Yeah.
was literally not out of breath, and if he wanted to could have absolutely hurt me. And
Yeah.
that disconnect, I think, is there, like you said, unconsciously. But for a lot of men, Abby, I'll tell you, my ex-wife once said, like, did you not realize how damn big you are? And I'm like, under 5'10". I was 175 pounds at the time. But what my head was, no, I'm the 14-year-old whose sisters used to make fun of me for having skinny legs and was new to weightlifting and was intimidated walking into a gym. That's who I still am when I'm with you. And so I had my own work to do to go, oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right.
We are vastly different. Now I need to recognize that, take responsibility for it, so that I do know that if I raise my voice, or if I, God forbid, throw something or punch a wall or something that I'm not going to do, but people do, is that much more terrifying. It's
Yeah.
that much more confronting, and it hits something like you suddenly, you're not the 14-year-old who's skinny. You just punched something and put your partner back to being a 4-year-old who got yelled at, most likely by someone who was twice or three times her size.
Well, and
So
let's be honest. I mean, you don't have to do that to get her to be a 4-year-old. Like we're all basically,
sure,
10-year-olds
sure.
talking to 10-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's pretty much what we're doing. You know, like let's call a spade, right?
Yeah.
That's the world we live in. It's obvious. If it wasn't obvious before, it's definitely obvious now. Like we are just unmined trauma and bullshit. So that brings me to the question, what does doing your work
Mm.
as a man look like? And
Mm.
why do you want to do it? Your internal work.
One of the challenges I had with Me Too, and the reason Uncivilized exists, is because I kept getting to the bottom of articles and there was no action plan. There was no call to action. It was, the men are broken, period. Men are terrible, period. Matt Lauer's a piece of shit. Okay, I get that one, period. I was like, you had a button in your office? I hope you step on a Lego barefoot. We'll leave it at that. But there wasn't a call to action. And I
Yeah.
remember saying to a number of people who found it quite offensive that I said it, that yelling at non rapists to not be rapists isn't going to get us anywhere. And that's the vast majority of the male population.
Yeah.
So when I would read an article, it was like, don't grope your person on a first date. It was like, well, I don't do this. So get rid of the article, right?
Right.
What it didn't say was, you guys, you big swath in the middle, we're going to invite you and enroll you to be part of the solution. We get it. You're not you're not the problem, but
Yeah.
being neutral isn't helping the problem. And so we're not going to shame you into being part of the solution either. It's your job. It's your responsibility. Where what I know about men is, if we feel like we're getting to do something bigger than ourselves, we'll dive in with both feet. There's a reason why the military in the US is still voluntary. Guys will literally put themselves in harm's way. There's
Yeah.
fire departments are voluntary. I can go on and on about this. And so what I would say to men is a couple things. One, this is going to be the most challenging work of your life. You think you're a baller, you think you're badass, you got 3 extra houses and 7 Porsches and a 7-figure this. Go sit with your shadow. Go talk about the shit you don't want to talk about. I've had elite military guys say, this is the most difficult work I've ever done in my life. So
Hmm.
one, go test yourself. You see, you're bored right now. You think you're in a midlife crisis. Amazing. Go sit with your shit. Go figure yourself out. And then two, you're going to open yourself up to something that you have never had access to. You have lived a very powerful life that's essentially like watching a black and white TV. You've had successes, you've had failures, there have been good things, there have been bad. But when I found my inner landscape, the energetics of my body, emotions, it was like, Abby, poof, everything became color, HD color. So I have not yet been bored since that day happened. It took some work, but there's no boredom. I can just feel myself, and that's a great day, and whatever. Every interaction, all of my relationality, all of my relationships become so much deeper and juicier and richer and more wonderful.
Because you don't just have to talk about sports and work, and
you don't
that's
want
it.
to. Here's the challenge. I last about 3 minutes in a room, most rooms on the East Coast, because those guys, God bless them, are talking about finance and deals and home remodels and vacations. And I just want to ask them, like, yeah, but how are you?
Yeah.
How and what is going on with you? What's going on inside of you?
Yeah.
So a lot of guys are going to hear this and they're going to skip it. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't need that. But I will tell you guys, eventually it will come calling. And Carl Jung has a quote, like, called or not, the gods will come. And when most men find this, it was for me, their divorce, job loss, death in the family, terminal illness, something. You will be called into your inner life. And I actually find that is what is happening in the quote midlife crisis, because we've gone as far as we can on the external, right? Buy another car and see how long that makes you happy. At some point, you have to turn the mirror inward and go, hey guys, wow, there's some stuff going on with me. Now, that also may not sound like a great sell, but I will tell men there are programs that are running your life that are keeping you from joy, that are keeping you from connection, that are keeping you from happiness, that are keeping you from this big word that men seem to want, which is satisfaction. That the itch to do more and be more and drive more and push more, etc., which slowly starts to arc in our early 50s, has to be replaced by something other than a 25-year-old wife and another Porsche. There's this whole side of your being that's yet unexplored. And we are adventurers. We're explorers. We want to go out and kick some ass. Beautiful. Learn about yourself. Learn about your operating system. Learn about what turns you on, what turns you off. And I'll tell you, brothers, there's a whole life waiting for you on the inside. And it is far more interesting than the one on the outside. But there's a price of entry. You don't just get the good stuff. You're going to deal with fear and shame and guilt and pain and upset and frustration. And that's all in there too. But right now, ignoring it, bypassing it, is also killing you. It's the reason why you can't go 2 days without a drink or a shot of cocaine or an affair or something that you're doing.
Even less like that, but even more like why you just sort of have this malaise, or you just don't know what the next chapter is, or, when you're not doing something or watching something, you're kind of like, because there's not a relationship with self, which I think we've all gotten away from.
We've traded it for TikTok.
Yeah.
Right. We truly have. And I know I'm guilty of it too. I've built a business on Instagram. We've traded it for social media. We've lost connection with nature. We've lost connection with rivers, and people are going to be like, oh my God, you're a hippie. Do you know Francis Weller? You know his work?
I don't think I do.
Amazing teacher. He talks about the primary satisfactions. Like, we've lost the ability to break bread with each other. We've lost the ability to sit around a fire and tell stories. We've lost the ability to walk in the woods and laugh at trees. And I'm not a damn hippie. But that kind of stuff, or I know that when I'm engaging in that way, if I can sit down with someone and have a real conversation for an hour, I am higher than I ever got smoking weed. And it's this deep sense of richness and satisfaction. It's like eating a beautiful meal. We're all living on fucking cup noodle and, Snickers. And going, why aren't we happy? Why aren't we nourished? Why do we need more cup noodle and more Snickers and more this and more that? Or like you said, or we just sit there staring at the wall going, there's nothing left to do, is there? The whole humanity's figured out. My computer can send my emails now. I don't need to date a real person. I have naked women on my computer screen. I wake up and ChatGPT tells me I'm God's gift to the world, but it doesn't smell good.
It doesn't smell good. Yeah, like smelling a baby's head. You like even
Yeah.
that
Oh, is there anything
smells.
better?
Yeah, right. Like I'm vibing with this because I'm just remembering when I was a kid, I was like 9 years old, and I remember I spent the day with my grandmother, and she had this friend. His name was Chuck, and I spent the whole day with him, and he was so boring. And when he left, I said to my grandmother, I was like, Graham, that guy is like a bagel without cream cheese. And, she had this Boston accent. She said, Darling, why did you say that? He's so nice. I was like 9 or 10. I said, Graham, see that lampshade? That's nice, but I don't want to spend the day with it. Like literally as a small kid, like I don't fucking care. I'm like, I want to know and I want to be known. Like if
Yeah.
you will share who you are with me,
Right.
I'm in.
Right.
If you don't want to share who you are with me
Mm-hmm.
and you don't care who I
Mm-hmm.
am,
Right.
I just, I don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I just don't.
Mm.
So I just love what you're saying and what you're
Yeah.
about and what you're doing.
Thank you.
Um,
Abby, can I say one thing before your question?
yeah.
I love to be known and to know. And one of the things I find with a lot of humans right now, men or women, is they don't know where home is. And I will say home is where you're known, whether that's in your house, whether that's in your office, whether that's with your bicycle community. Home is where you're known. Men are suffering right now from disconnection because we don't know ourselves. So therefore we can't allow somebody else to know us. And if we get down to really what is the root of so much pain and so much dis-ease and so much suffering, it is that we don't feel known. And
Yeah.
yet, if we're not willing to look at ourselves, how can I share myself with you if I don't know myself? So, as like a
Right.
final selling point for all of this, I don't give a shit that my AI coach on my phone knows me. I want my neighbor to know me. I want my partner to know me. I want my family to know me. That's who's going to be with me through ups and downs and thick and thin and in those quiet, intimate moments around the breakfast table, around the fire, walking in the woods. And I have a funny feeling. I worked in hospice for a while, and truly at the end of life, it is the people that know us that we want around us. At least that was my experience with those people. And even if no one is there, when I was volunteering for people who didn't have family there, they just
Yeah.
told me their stories,
Yeah.
which essentially is, I would like you to know me in these last few days I'm here. And so I didn't want to pass that because I think that's so important of what you said. And it
Yeah.
is such a missing universal truth. And if we even circle it back, I want to be known by my woman. I
Yeah.
imagine you want to know your man if that's how you
Yeah.
orient. Like that's
Yeah.
what all of this social media arguing and I think the
Right.
pain underneath it is I have so much love to give and I want to be known.
I want to be seen, right? Like we want to be
All the
seen.
things. I want to be
Yeah.
seen. I want to be met. I want to be heard. I want to be celebrated. And we can't do
Yeah.
this if we're in our own camps, like throwing shit at each other, across the way. We miss our
Right.
humanity. Like, hey, there's a human here who's
Yeah.
lived through some stuff, who's had hard times, who's had beautiful times, hard times, all the things. I want to extract that as
Yeah.
an interviewer. I'm sure you do as a storyteller, as like that's the juice. and
Yeah.
and feel and I want young people to or I told guys I taught this was something I just did on a whim. It's like I'm going to teach a dating class when I came out of the dark and was like, here's the deal, guys. Every time you're on a first date, I want you to think this woman has a story, and that's what I want. I want to feel like what's her story? What's the story she's
Not as
not
a
telling
gimmick,
people?
not as a
No,
gimmick to make her
no,
think that you're really
no.
interested.
Like
Right.
orient yourself towards that. Like, what is this
Yeah.
human story? And if nothing happens, you're going to have a great experience, period. So will she. If you never
Yeah.
talk again, you'll have a great experience.
You leave someone better than you found them. It's a form of what we talk about in the work is external considering. Like we are so self-focused, like just as the machine is, it just is.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, but like where are we orienting while we're talking?
Mm.
And the exercise of which you don't remember to do, right? Like it's maybe you remember once in a blue moon, you know, but the idea of orienting to like externally considering the human in front of you, even while you're talking, while you're the one talking, is an energy shift. And I think that's a beautiful example of sharing with guys, like orient yourself with anybody, right? Like get out of your own head. Because
Yeah.
is there toilet paper on my thing? Is it do I look okay? Do I whatever? Like, who fucking cares? Sit and just be like, you know, tell me about you. The fucking toilet paper doesn't matter, you know, like it's only your ego that's going to tell you're an idiot. And yeah, maybe someone put on social media because that's the life we live in, but who the fuck cares? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
I think you need to have that as like a tagline somewhere. Who fucking cares? Tell me about you. That's like that's what I hope you name this episode that.
tell me about you. Yeah. Oh, so good. You know, I always say that home is where I can remember myself,
Mm, it's beautiful.
right? Because
Mm,
to your point, it's like when you can find yourself, and to me, it's like if we could lead from that place,
mm,
instead of the 10-year-old talking to the 10-year-old, or, you know, whatever age you were developmentally stunted at or whatever,
right.
if we could lead from that deeper place, and I know you know that place better than anyone from
Mm,
the next questions I'm going to ask
mm,
you, but if we could lead from that place of this is who I am,
yeah.
you know, like I'm not the hysterical, insecure, funny, all the labels that I have for myself, the wife, the mother, the whatever, positive or negative. I'm not those things. I'm something else. Like at my core, like being out in the world. I don't know your experience. You have obviously a huge community, but to me, like even putting out a podcast and putting out things on social media, my ego can be like, oh my God, oh, you know, this is, you know, and I have a little story I tell about when I did the TEDx and everything, right? And my personality parts are like going off the fucking rails. And it's like, I have to dive deep to this deeper place. It's like, look, here's the truth of the matter. I am sincere.
Mm, mhm,
That's it.
mhm,
And you might not like me. And I might make an ass of myself, and I might whatever could happen,
mm,
right? Like, but that's what I know.
yeah.
And if I can land there, then I'm home. And if I can lead from there,
Mm,
well, then I can, you know, create impact, but I can also just settle my nervous system. I can just, you know, I'm in a position to absorb
mm,
and to live in the duality that is human, you know, 3D, 5D,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, you get to be free.
you get to be free. It's emotional freedom, right? Like that's what
Yeah.
I always say. Like it's inner authority, it's emotional freedom. And guess what? Yeah, it's also endless opportunity, but that's
Yeah.
not really what matters. Like, what is more free than emotional freedom, than not having the voice saying, do you know what an idiot you sound like when you were talking to
Mm.
Traver? Oh my God. You know,
Right,
like,
right.
oh my God, that's a prison,
Mm, mhm.
you
That's hell.
know, that voice. It's hell.
Yeah, the
So
definition of
speaking of hell,
okay.
um, you spent first 28 days in darkness and
Mhm.
then 49 days in darkness.
I did.
And when I think about that, it feels so scary.
Mhm.
And you talked about the fear that came up, and I have so many questions about it. So I'm just going to say a few things, then I'm going to let you go where you want to go. This is what I used to do when I was a therapist. I would just point out some things, and then I'd be like, now you pick up where you want to pick up. I'm going to interview you that way too. So I did a 10-day Vipassana retreat,
Beautiful.
and it was not beautiful. I call it my
Mm,
10 days of torture
okay.
because I never got out of my head. I
Mm,
never got out of my personality. I was writing a book in my head the whole time. I just was tortured, and I white knuckled it, you know, through the
mm,
thing in hindsight, right? But I also realized, like, God, I can't get out of my mind. I can't get out of here.
mm,
And that was a really difficult experience that I feel like I missed the point. Like my whole arc of that story is I went, I got angry, I left. Similarly, in the beginning when I was doing medicine work, and even now, like there's a point where you're descending into the medicine, and I would experience just absolute terror. In fact, the first time I really did it, like with a shaman, I passed out. Like that's how afraid I was. It was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to, and I know that you talk about the fear, you talk about grief, you talk about fear, and I'd love to hear more about it. And I'm just wondering, like, what are we so fucking afraid of to go inside? Why is that so scary?
I'm switching roles here. Do you find fear in your body, Abby? Is there something in you, like a trauma that you didn't want to touch, or something that you didn't want to experience emotionally?
Yeah, I think it's two pronged. I think one is just the fear of the ego just doesn't want to let go. It's
Yeah.
like the ego does not want to dissolve. Um, but two, I do think after doing this for a while now that, and it's really sort of undeniable about what happens to me in medicine, that there's something that does not want to, something happened, whether, that is not wanting to be acknowledged, not
Okay.
wanting to be known. And so I think it's both. It's sort of like, oh, I don't want to,
Yeah.
I don't want to know it, and,
Yeah.
49 days in darkness, it's like, you can white knuckle your way through a medicine journey, but like, I don't think you can really white knuckle your way through 49 days in darkness.
I'm gonna pick up where we're at, because I just got chills, if you can see.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 years, I couldn't touch a trauma. I didn't know what it was. I just didn't know what it was. I knew there was something. I had a sense there was something, and would take, like, I took MDA, MDA,
Yep.
and passed out. And my
You
buddy
did.
was like, people don't pass out on that shit. Took MDMA and passed out. And I
Yeah.
was like, people don't pass out on this. And went to a therapist, a very skilled somatic therapist. And I remember her saying, like, can you get to where you think you feel this? I was like, yeah, it's in my stomach. It's like, cool, energetically put your hand on your stomach. And I know this because I teach workshops with brilliant therapists. And she's like, well, how do you feel now? And I was like, I'm about to fall asleep right here in your office.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I get it for you. I just want to say that. And it took 42 days for me to get to that trauma. So
Did you become aware of it?
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
lived it. I relived it. Relived this. I'm not going to go into too many details of it, but I will tell you that somatically I relived the trauma
Yes.
as a baby. And I'm
Yeah.
talking, for people listening, pouring sweat, like as if
Yeah.
people were pouring buckets on top of me, screaming and crying like a child for about 2 hours. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because you said, can you white knuckle it? It took 6 weeks of isolation in a pitch black room before it was allowed to come to the surface for me. And so some things just get buried deep.
Well, it's shocking, right? How deep, like it's the pre-verbal memories. And when you watch your body go through something like that, and the mind will be like, oh, I'm making that up. No, no, I went through it. I felt it.
Yeah.
I don't have a consciousness of the specifics,
Right.
but it happened, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is incredibly powerful, but also really scary and confronting.
Super. I'll share this with you. So for people who don't understand this, a dark retreat is when you're literally left in a room with no light, and food is taken care of. It's like brought through a double door system. These are just the questions people always ask. Like, how did you eat? Did you cook? I'm like, no, I didn't cook. It was a black room. But there's like a mailbox that has an opening on each side, and there's a toilet, and there's a shower, and there's a bed, and yada yada. And the first night, because I'd done 28 days, and I describe it as like a 28-day car accident. It was hell on hell on hell. And it took me a decade to do it again. And I did it again only because I felt the call back so strongly that it was undeniable. It was like, my life will be in shambles if I don't do this. It will require addiction to come back into my life if I don't do this. So I'm doing it. I put my company on hold. It was very, very disruptive to my life to do it. And I did it. And on the first night, I'm walked in with the woman who's guiding me. We sat there for a little while. I had her read a really sweet prayer that a buddy of mine had written, and then she left. And when she leaves, she left a candle on and goes, "You blow the candle out," and thus it begins. And I, like a caged animal, wove and dodged and bobbed and weaved around that candle, being like, "Fuck, fuck, fuck!" As soon as I blow this thing out, look at my arm. Woo! As soon as I blow
Yeah.
this thing out, it's on. And I did. I blew it out and sat on the bed for a little while and was calm and relaxed, and then just burst out crying out of terror. And it only lasted for about 7 to 10 seconds. And I remember thinking, like, okay, whatever's going to happen has begun. And part of me knows, like, there's an intuitive, deeper sense that knows what's coming. And the part above that is shit scared.
Yeah.
So just like with a medicine journey where you take the medicine, you're like, oh, the whole world is now every possibility. I could come out of this enlightened. I could come out of this crazy. I could go meet Jesus. I could meet my abuser. I could figure out how to make 8 figures. I could be broke. All the things
Right.
are available. And so, yeah, it's scary. I mean, it's super, super scary. And all of this inner work is scary. And no, you cannot white knuckle. The reason I chose 28 days the first time, I remember specifically thinking, I think I'd probably make a week or two just getting by. I'm an active dude. I'll just meditate and do push-ups for 2 straight weeks. But I know that after that, it's going to get me. And the first time it took 8 days before it just unloaded hell on me. And this time was like a slower titration. It wasn't I wasn't in an acutely traumatic state. Like the first time I was getting divorced, my ex-wife had lost our child. I'd left a business, like all this stuff in my outer life was a mess. But I'll go back to the Carl Jung quote of "Called or not, the gods will come." And sitting in a pitch black room by yourself, the gods show up and the angels show up and the devil shows up, and everything you've ever hidden, everything you've ever tried to avoid, every memory, every somatic thing, it's all there available. And there's beauty. I don't want to just describe this as like living through hell. There's insights and there's an access to depth that I didn't have before, an access to the deepest parts of myself that I didn't have before. And perhaps we touch them in a one-night ayahuasca ceremony or a psilocybin ceremony, but I got to be with mine for weeks and weeks, and I still get to be with them now because I had that much time and that much relationship. But it's a doozy. This is a big, big deal. I wouldn't have known the first time that darkness would become my medicine. It found me. It found me in the most random of ways. And yet to sign up for a month for the first time is virtual insanity. You don't get to do that. You have to do 3 days or 5 days before anyone will let you do anything close to 2 weeks. But the place I was at said they waited till they met me. Like, okay, we met you. We think you're going to be okay. Go in there. And by be okay, I mean I wouldn't hang myself in the shower or come out truly psychotic.
Well, right, because that's a risk. Like the psyche
is
I mean, on its face, right, we would say, and certainly some of the stuff we've talked about so far with our ability to kind of compartmentalize our emotions. Someone might be like, oh, so what? So you're sitting in darkness, big deal. Whatever.
Sure.
But no. Like if you think it's terrifying, like what and why are we so afraid to look within? What is that?
It's unpredictable. That entire 49 days was unpredictable. I could literally be sitting there eating normally like you eat breakfast and have an image or something come into my psyche that would knock me over, that would level me, that would cost me a day of sobbing and crying and yelling because I had forgotten or I had let go of that or I thought I'd worked through that thing. And I don't have an acutely traumatic background. I mean, I grew up in Connecticut and I grew up in the world. So there, of course there's trauma in there. Of course there's stuff. And for people who
Right.
think, oh, you're just sitting there in a pitch black room for the whole time, there's one of the hardest things I described in the book was that darkness is an entity. It's a thing. It's not the absence of light only. It's a proactive, organic entity. Like water isn't the absence of air. Air isn't the absence of water, to use two dual substances.
Yeah.
And it works on you, or it works on me. It worked on me. That much silence, that much lack of input, that much disorientation around what time is it? Where am I? What's going on? How come I haven't
Yeah.
spoken to anybody? It came quickly this time, Abby, and I would venture to tell anybody who says that they just don't know it. They just don't know the entity, right?
And the lack of distraction, I mean, light brings distraction, right? Like the lack of
1,000%.
distraction. And I can just imagine what the mind tries to do to escape being faced with itself.
Mm-hmm. Think of the old days pre-cell phone of like being in a dentist's office. Like you read magazines, or I would
Right.
read the damn thing that they have like framed on the wall on like dental health. And you may read that 3 times, or at the DMV, like what do you do? What did you used to do before we had phones?
Yeah.
Or look at your hand, or look at your feet, or like play with stuff. There's nothing to look at. So I don't know how to scientifically say what happens. That's not my jam. But I will tell you that very quickly, with nothing to see or feel in that way, that processes and parts of yourself that are there the whole time but are lying dormant come alive, where you have access to them. Like I had access in the first round to like every single classroom I'd ever been in, K through 12, where I could sit there and sit in my chair and like look around the room and see the kids and the teacher. And now if you ask me to do that right now, I can't do
Yeah.
that. But I was the same guy I was, when I was in the dark. It's probably
Right.
back there somewhere. And yet these images that we're also recording as babies and children would also come up. I can
Jeez.
say like, oh, is that active imagination? When who cares?
Right.
Right? Like
And of
I don't,
all the things, why
right.
why would that come up? Of all the things
Right.
that could come up.
Exactly. And if I have a massive emotive response to it, I'm just going to
Yeah.
go out on a limb and say, there were times in the room, Abby, where I was bored, obviously, or would be looping on something that I didn't want to be looping on. And I
Yeah.
would say, like, hey, can we go deeper than my 2026 business calendar? And boom, something would come up that would knock me over.
Yeah.
Now, I would say what didn't come up was like, oh, there's a box of Cheerios from when I was 4. That means nothing. What came up was like an image of my parents holding me as a child after I was born. Something like
Wow.
that, where I would go, oh, fuck. Okay. This now
Wow.
untangles a story that I have about myself, or such and such. It wasn't innocuous things that would come up.
Right.
Very rarely were they like, oh, and there's a flower in my head. I like flowers. Cool. Anything else? Right.
Well, and yet, I don't know if it ever happens to you, but when you're working with clients sometimes and things will come up and it's like, oh, but that's nothing. I just made that
Right.
up. And it's like,
Right.
no, you didn't.
Yeah.
You can feel it in your body, right? I feel it in my second center, right? Isn't that where you
Right.
feel it? Yeah.
Right. Right.
It's because it's there.
Right.
So, what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn?
Oh
I'm sure you learned a
man.
gajillion things, but share some.
Something that I think is really important that I walked away with as a man specifically is the amount of resilience I have.
Mhm.
Because from the moment I blew that candle out to the moment the door opened 7 weeks later, everything was difficult. Everything.
Mhm.
Eating is hard. Getting dressed is hard. Showering is hard. Going to the bathroom is hard. Sleeping is hard. Waking up and not knowing what time is it is hard. Meditating, like every damn thing. Try brushing your teeth blindfolded tonight and then be like, well, that's fun. Now do it for the next 2 months. Right? Like everything is difficult with the added weight of this doesn't end for 7 weeks from now, 6 weeks and 4 days, 6 weeks and 3 days. The weight of time, how long
Yeah.
this is going to continue, was excruciating.
Mm.
I use the term, and maybe this is inappropriate, the violence of monotony. Like, it was so damn monotonous. Other
Yeah.
than the 2 times when I would be fed a day, everything else there was nothing. There's no input. And that, to be able to hold that and be with myself through that and talk to myself through that and not hang myself in the shower or quit. Like, I'm out of here when things got hard. I learned I'm not unbreakable, but I'm pretty damn close to it. And so that was a big, like, okay, I'm walking out of here going, wow, the world's in shambles. Things are all crazy. My life's a bit chaotic. I got this. I can handle this. So that was one piece. A second piece was a real reorientation. I think the first time when I went in 2015 or 16, it was a true introduction to my heart as a man. I was 40 years old. It was like my coming to consciousness. Oh my God. And this is me having feelings and emotions and anger and shame and guilt and all these things that like live in my chest. And I got to be in a relationship with those back then. And this time was a drop even deeper to a word that I know is loaded, but like to my actual soul. To, if I lose everything tomorrow, everything, and I still have access to this part of my stomach, I will smile in the face of that loss and go, yeah, but you can't touch me because I have this and I have this relationship and we're homies now and we're going to hang out. And not only are we homies, I'm going to get guidance from there. Where no longer do I look up and out to the heavens for like, hey, what do I do here? I look down and in, put my hand on my stomach and go, I need guidance right now. So a reorientation and organization. And I'm not a religious person, but I'm an American. I'm a Western person. So like that's the answers are above us, right? And something bad's down below. But so that like true relationship with depth and who I am as a man, who I am as below being a man, who I am as a human, who I am beneath being a human, just who I am as a soul was a radical reorientation.
Did you come to a place where you also like experienced your nothingness?
I didn't. I was active a lot. I want to speak to your Vipassana too. I wrote another book in there as well. And I wrote a number of articles in there. And I wrote a 90-minute workshop in there. And I wrote
the first time,
fiction
second
stories.
time, or
Both times.
both times?
But
Okay.
the second time was like, okay, I wrote a whole other book. I've got, and I didn't, maybe you know this as a Vipassana person. I didn't know that people can't do that. So I've now come out and been like, yeah. And then I would go to like chapter 5, page 3, and I'd start writing again. People are like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. It just, you can't do that.
Writer.
And maybe it's from being in the dark, or maybe it's from being a writer. So there was a lot of activity. There were beautiful meditations where I lost myself. Beautiful times like that. And a lot of awareness that this is what day it is. This is what time it may be. This is what I'm thinking about. I proactively asking questions. Hey, what's going on in this part of my life? Let's lie here and try to see what comes up as answers if I get really, really, really quiet. But I didn't have a lot of like equanimous, whatever the Vipassana term is.
Right.
Equanimity. Like I didn't hear that a lot. It was pretty active. Yeah.
I love what you're describing because it feels so like human and transcendental. I'm a writer too, and so like literally I'll write in my head. You know, that whole Vipassana retreat, I was like, oh, it's going to be day 1, and this chapter is going to be about this, day 2, and the whole book is going to be my 10 days of Vipassana. And, you know, like my whole, right? But so much of that for me, you know, because it was only 10 days, was like I never got outside of my identity. My like, I need to achieve this, and then and that will be something, right? And I think that those of us that have a real sort of hyper-achieving part of ourselves, and we bring our spiritual program, we bring that program to our spirituality. So it just ends up being like, you know, I don't know if I'm being articulate enough, but like where I never really got to a place of like, no, like get down to the soul level, like you're talking about, to something deeper. Listen, you can publish a book. It's not going to mean shit. I mean, people may like it now. It went in 10 years, it'll be nothing. If you're lucky enough for it to be a New York Times bestseller, it'll be 10 years, it'll be nothing. And 10 years after that, it'll be less than nothing. You know, like it's nothing.
Yeah.
But the ego is so driven to like have some meaning or be something
Hmm.
beyond what is already so great that you explained, but that we've
Yeah.
lost so much touch with that soul level of being.
Yeah. There's a point in the first one where I thought I may be dead for a day. I was just
Mm.
so exhausted and so confused and so beat up from the experience that I remember sort of waking up on the floor or coming to consciousness on the floor and thinking like, oh shit, I don't think I went to bed here. And I tried to touch my face and I couldn't figure out if it was my face or if I just was like, have I died? Oh shit, I may have died.
Oh, geez.
And this is what the afterlife is. This is what being buried is,
Oh,
right?
that gives me chills.
It was
God.
so disorienting. The I said, as I said, the first one was so disorienting,
Yeah.
and I did in this one every Friday. A woman would Arpita, the woman guiding me, would come in and talk with me for 15 minutes. And the first one that didn't happen. So I only had
Mm.
one human interaction in the month when they came in to change the water. So I was really lost in my like what day is
Yeah.
it? What time is it? All the things.
Yeah.
But I remember having the same thought of afterwards going, oh shit, no one's going to remember my name in 40 years. Even if I have
Yeah.
kids and grandkids. Like, I don't know my great grandfather's name. I have
Right.
memories of my grandparents, but I don't know their work. Even if they were like a great author, I wouldn't know. Neither would anybody else. And it was this extraordinary freedom, both thinking I'm so insignificant. I'm
Yeah.
allowed to fuck up all over the place, and I'm not going to be irresponsible.
Yeah.
And if I do hit a home run, and man, my next book changes the whole world and I get famous and I meet Oprah, no one's going to remember anyway. So
Right.
so like the duality of I'm so insignificant, now I'm free to be as significant as I want, and I'm going to end up I'm going to end up right back here either way in a pitch black something, and the world is going on around as if I didn't even exist. And
Yeah.
so I think I had to get there in the first one to then 10 years later to build myself up externally and create significance in the world, and then come into this room 2 months ago and go, yeah, but by the way, this stuff doesn't matter anyway. This stuff's
Right.
going to, don't identify with any of it. Oh, you're the uncivilized guy. Oh, you're the author. No, 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 no.
Yeah. No. Right.
What's
We're all
beneath that? What's beneath that? What's
what's
beneath that?
beneath that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this ridiculous hierarchy that we have in our world. My mentor and I often talk about just self-importance and how we are so self-important, even if it's because we're having a massive shame spiral. Even that is self-important. It's like I'm
Right.
so important that I'm the worst person in the world. It's all the same shit, right?
Hierarchically, I'm winning the worst person in the world award right now.
I
It's
am
me.
so obvious to everybody. And I often think like this podcast, really, I thought I was like contributing to higher consciousness, but I really think it's just a work for me to work on my own self-importance. Like watch myself get intimidated by a guest or watch myself telling what I know or, all this like such a fucking like who does this shit? I don't know. Anyway, um, this time is like literally flown by and I don't have my glasses on, so I'm just seeing the time now. I want you to share a little bit about Man Uncivilized so that listeners
Sure.
can hear what it is and where to find you. And then I'll
Yeah.
ask you one last question and then I'll let you go, sadly.
Cool, cool, cool. We are an incredible men's organization, Abby. We have live in-person teams in I think 50 locations now all over the world where
Wow.
guys are getting together in person. And I'm not
Yeah.
sure when this is coming out, but I'll pitch something that
Yeah.
we have this idea. I had this idea a year ago that I want to have 1,000 men's circles in a single day all over the world. And a circle meaning any more than 3 guys who get together and just answer 3 very simple questions, and then they can go back to playing poker or drinking beer or whatever it is that they're doing. But can we do that to shift the paradigm of masculinity and get men talking just about, hey, how are you really? And feeling what it's like to be heard, feeling what it's like to be seen, and getting to be the witness for other men. So
I can do
people
everything else. I
listening.
live with all men, just FYI.
Amazing. So guys, go to manuncivilized.com/1000 circles. And so you can find me, you can find the book, you can find a lot of my work at manuncivilized.com. I would love to also plug, I have a new book that's just come out called 28 Days in Darkness. It's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes & Noble. It will be on Audible hopefully by the end of the week where I read it. I'm on Instagram at Traver Boehm. I have a podcast called the Uncivilized Podcast, even though it's on hold at the moment. And if you write Uncivilized and something else comes up, please find me and then tell me so I can fire SEO people. But I'm not hard to find in the world. And I'd love to hear from podcast guys or podcast listeners if stuff in this tweaked you or piqued you or you have questions. I'd love to hear it.
Awesome. Yeah. And I will say, I mean, you're just a beautiful writer.
Thank
so I recommend the books. I mean, really just beautiful writing.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. So if you could leave the audience with one thing, I always ask people, like, if you could just shake people, it's just like, I just want you to know this one thing. What is it that you just want people to know? And you can do men and women separately, or you can do everybody, or you could do just men, whatever you want.
I think it's what we've touched on, Abby, that there's a whole nother life going on inside of us. And that there's so much noise and so much chaos, right? 2 weeks ago, it was Charlie Kirk getting shot. Last week, it was Trump. This week, it's acetaminophen. Next week, it'll be something else. And it just rips us by design. There's geniuses from MIT sitting up tonight till 2 a.m. trying to figure out how to take us away from ourselves, away from our hearts, our souls, our bodies, our reason for being here, the thing that we want to do.
Yeah.
And so I would say, come back to yourself, please. Give yourself time, give yourself space, give yourself grace. And if I can add a PS when it comes to relationship, when it comes to men and women, for fuck's sake, we need each other. Yeah. And can we stop this dance of wounds and anger and finger pointing and blame and say, like, okay, we each owe each other different apologies, and we owe each other reverence, and we owe each other respect, and we owe each other the effort to try to bridge the societal gap of men and women and come back to the same team. Please do that.
Because we want to be, right?
We want to be. We need each other, period. I don't care how good AI gets. We need each other.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.